Even Democrats were embarrassed at Joe Biden's performance in the Thursday evening debate against Donald Trump. Hi, everybody. Brian Sussman here, Brian Sussman Show podcast. So here's where I'm going with this. What were our enemies thinking? We have foreign enemies all over the world. What were they thinking watching this incompetent, bumbling, mumbling, spaced out Joe Biden, the commander in chief of the United States of America? What were the enemies thinking? I have an interview that I want to share with you. This is from a radio show that I do every week in Sedona, Arizona on KAZM radio. It turns into a podcast at straighttalksedona.com. Our interview was with Congressman Eli Crane. Now, some of you are saying, never heard of the guy. Who is he? Well, he's a first-term congressman running now for a second term in Arizona's 2nd Congressional District. He's a former combat Navy SEAL who was deployed on many occasions. He's not cut from the cloth that most of these congressmen in Washington, D.C. are cut from. He's a citizen who loves this country, has put his life on the line for this country many times, and is now fighting for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all of us in Washington, D.C. So I like this guy. He's my adopted congressman. Uh, he's one of just about a dozen, I think, in the U.S. Congress who really understands what time it is and understands how dire a moment this is in American history. So I asked him about the debate last night. I want to dive into this conversation that I had earlier today with Congressman Eli Crane. Congressman, thanks for taking time from your busy day to join us. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, Congressman, I'm going to let you do what you do so well. Shoot straight from the hip. Give us your thoughts on the debate.
Yeah, I think like many people, it was just a complete disaster. I mean, I think the headline coming out of it was just how unbelievably unprepared, incoherent Joe Biden really was. And obviously that leads to a string of different questions and even alarmism from my Democrat colleagues. I mean, this isn't new. You guys have known this. We've known this for a long time. And it's been quite alarming to know that our commander in chief, the individual who could, has, so much capability to release weapons, warfare around the world, and with the stroke of the pen can enact so many different things, doesn't know where he is, stumbles, mumbles all the time. And has been and there continues to be a real question about his abilities and who's actually running the show. But I think interestingly enough, though we've been saying this for a long time, if you act for those that actually continue to tune in and watch the networks like CNN and others post debate, listening to Democrats finally say what we've been saying for a long time. They were saying that, he possibly should be removed. That, so many of them were in complete disbelief with how awful he was, given that, he took pretty much an entire week off to prepare for this debate. And, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I don't see how they can, not try the old switcheroo, and it'll come down to whether or not they can get, the president to, step aside.
You have been trained to strategically get into the mind of the enemy. I mean, this is what your training was all about as a Navy SEAL. I'm just curious, what do you think our enemies are thinking? Big guys like Putin and Xi and others, when they see a commander in chief as incompetent as Biden looked during the debate, what are they thinking?
Well, they're licking their chops, and every single one of them is thinking, if I'm going to make the moves that we've been plotting for a long time, like we saw in Ukraine, like we're watching with China and Taiwan right now, they know that window of time is becoming increasingly short. And so they're going to continue to make aggressive moves. I think you're going to continue to see the world stage and, completely on fire, just like we see in the Middle East. And President Trump, he did make very good points last night, and it's not a coincidence that Vladimir Putin, made moves under Barack Obama, Bush, and even Biden, but he never made a move under Trump. And it goes back to that whole peace through strength, the reality and the truth, to that statement. And whether people like President Trump or not, they do respect him. And I think there's even a healthy dose of fear there because they don't know what he's going to do. He was criticized multiple times. You guys probably remember when he was running initially, when asked about what he would do with foreign policy. And he would tell people all the time, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do because, I want to have, some sort of element of surprise so that people don't exactly know what I'm going to do. And in a war, in a fight, when you utilizing leverage, you never want people to know exactly what you're going to do. It makes it harder for them to plan what they're going to do, and to react. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing the president come back. We need him now more than ever, but I'm preparing myself for some more surprises.
As a congressman, you have been standing in the gap for our veterans. I'm thinking of the VA, I'm thinking of the military budget, et cetera. There was a lot of talk in that debate about the VA, and there was a lot of talk about veterans. So talk to us. When it comes to Donald Trump, how do the vets feel about him versus Biden?
Well, I think a lot of veterans had a lot of respect for Trump. I think they understand chain of command. They understand what I just talked about as far as peace through strength. And a lot of active duty and even veterans can be more vocal, obviously, than active duty who aren't allowed to publicly discuss their opinions. But I still have many friends that are active duty. And what I can tell you is many of them are very discouraged and even a bit alarmed of what our military has become under this administration. It's becoming, more of a social experiment where we focus more on equity, diversity, and inclusion than we do on lethality and being the baddest fighting force on the planet. I know that concerns a lot of veterans as well, and they didn't see that under President Trump. As a matter of fact, President Trump tried to root out and get rid of as much of this DEI cancer that continues to metastasize and destroy our military like it's destroyed so many other institutions. But the other thing I want to say about why so many veterans love President Trump is because he actually listened to veterans, and he was the one that signed into law the Mission Act. And the Mission Act was a very important piece of legislation that allowed veterans in certain circumstances to be able to go out and get private health care in the community. And that's a huge win for veterans because some people have a great VA in their neighborhood or in their district, and others don't. And the VA, like a lot of bureaucracies, doesn't like to relinquish its authority, its control, and the dollars, to the private industry. It's kind of in many ways run like a business where they want to keep everything in house, and they want their clientele, veterans, to have to come to them. And I don't think they necessarily do that for nefarious reasons. But my point is when veterans aren't getting good treatment because of where they're located, the Mission Act really helps a lot of veterans go get the treatment that they need.
Congressman, we have to take a moment and talk about that huge event earlier this week in Prescott, Arizona. This was a powerhouse affair. Everyone from people like Charlie Kirk was there to Matt Gaetz, the congressman from Florida, was there, and other wonderful, true conservative congressmen standing there for you because at the end of the day, there's a guy named Kevin McCarthy, former Speaker of the House, who seems to be out to get you because you were one of those guys, like Matt Gaetz from Florida, who didn't vote for him for Speaker. So he's got this candidate that there's a political action committee that's supporting, running against you. I mean, this event, in my mind, solidified and gave the big stamp of approval from the people of Arizona that you're going to have a second term. But what say you, sir?
Yeah, it was a phenomenal event. this is something that I want to continue to be able to do. Guys, I've always known this fight isn't about me. It's not about me. It'll never be about me. So one of the things that I try and do is constantly surround myself with the best fighters out there, whether they're representatives in Congress, whether they're in the Senate, or whether they're, thought leaders in the America First conservative movement, and bring us together so that we can synergize, we can help each other out. Because sometimes they see things that we don't see, and sometimes vice versa, we see things. And so it's kind of like, in a way, being back in the military and just understanding that you're nothing by yourself on the battlefield. So being able to bring guys like Charlie Kirk, Matt Gaetz, Congressman Gosar, Congressman Biggs out to an event, and with our constituents, and being able to talk to them about what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, what we're trying to do, and then even getting feedback from them, so we're even more aware of what they're seeing, what their frustrations are, what they'd like to see us do. It just makes us function as a unit so much better. And it makes them feel heard, it makes them feel recognized, and it does make them feel like there are people out there fighting for them that actually care about, how their lives are affected by this government. And so it was a great event. I'm so thankful to Charlie and Matt. Flew all the way from Florida. As soon as he was done with that, he flew back. He took a red eye, flew back to Florida so he could,
Wow.
do debate prep with the president, which he obviously did a great job. And it was just an honor to have so many people show up.
Yeah, I mean, that tells you people want you for a second term. There's no question about this. And they're not interested in the generic candidate that's running against you.
No, they're not. And, we did get some, I won't go into the details of it, but we got some polling back this week, and it reflected what was seen in that audience
Good.
this last week. And so we're grateful. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing. We're gonna keep fighting, and I'm not gonna worry. I'm gonna continue not to worry about my political career, and I'm just gonna keep fighting. And maybe one day, Brian, the swamp will take me out, but I don't think it's gonna be I don't think it's gonna be this time.
I know you're passionate about border security, and of course that was a big topic in the debate, and President Biden was making it seem as if he's got things handled. I want to get your take on what's going on with the border and why Trump will be the much better choice.
Well, I'm passionate like you are about the border, Brian, because we're passionate about the American people. The American people deserve better than this. I mean, how many times do you have to turn on, the news in the morning and see another young, beautiful American girl that's been raped and murdered and had her family destroyed, or see a mother who's lost her child to, a fentanyl overdose, or read another story about how the FBI is trying to find, 50 individuals that came from Uzbekistan or somewhere that they don't know who they are, but they have, they were smuggled in by a group that had ties to ISIS. I mean, it's so dystopian and off the wall. I know we never thought we would live in a country that was being run this poorly, where our citizens were discarded, not cared for whatsoever, and just the basics. We're not even talking about some of the dynamics of, but just the basics of their rights as citizens, and the government's responsibilities are not being adhered to or acknowledged it at all whatsoever. And so that's why I care so much about what's going on at the border. I know all the threats, not even all the threats that are coming in, but quite a few of the threats that are coming in. And whether you listen to me, or if you rather listen to Director Wray of the FBI, who says that we have more threats in the country than we've had even since 9/11, I think that's a canary in the coal mine moment, guys. I think he's trying to let you know, wink, wink, what's coming down the pipe, and it's not good. It's not good at all. And you can only implement policies like this for so long before the byproduct and the pain and the fallout and the chaos and the death follows. And I think that's what we're experiencing now. I think it's going to continue to get worse. But to your point, Brian, the reason that I'm excited about President Trump's return is because he's already shown us that he can do it. It's much easier to do something that you've done already. I know he's going to have his work cut out for him. I know that there are going to be people in this town I'm in right now that are going to oppose every single move that he tries to make. Because quite honestly, some of them are wicked and evil people who, care more about power than they do about the American people. But it's not going to stop him. And if it was going to stop him, he would have left and gone back to Florida and just lived the life of a billionaire, celebrity who is, loved by half of the country. And he chose not to do that. He chose to come back and fight.
I want to be sensitive to your time schedule, Congressman. I know you've got a very, very busy day planned, but how can we help you? How can we support you? How can our listeners find out more about you?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Brian. I'm about to get on a plane and fly back to Arizona. It's always one of my favorite times of the week to get the hell out of here, but I do appreciate you guys. I just want to tell your listeners, guys, I don't think I'm perfect. I know I'm not perfect. I'm a sinner. There's so many things that I don't know up here. I try and surround myself with smarter, more talented people than me that can, help me where I'm weak. But I do love this country. I love this district. If you guys want to keep me and my family in prayer, I appreciate that. If you want to go learn more about me, you can go to elifораrizona.com. And Matt, what's the newsletter if they want to sign up for the newsletter?
It's one in the chamber. Just go to crane.house.
Crane.house.gov if you guys want to sign up for the newsletter. See, I told you, I got one right here that's, ready to pick me up when I can't remember what.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
But yeah, thank you guys for all your support. People tell me all the time they're praying for us, and it means the world.
Right on. Congressman, thank you very much for your time. We so appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. God bless you. Appreciate you guys.
Cool. If you enjoyed my interview with Congressman Eli Crane, please make sure you share this podcast. In the meantime, thank you for joining me. As always, God bless you, and please, God bless the United States of America. Amen. Until next time.